They saw a woman covered in faded jeans, long sleeves on a summer day, her hair in a rough ponytail, and assumed she was no one, not worth talking to, not pretty enough, not classy enough, and certainly not someone they'd ever imagined had once worn a uniform that demanded respect. What they didn't see, what they didn't want to see, was the fire behind her eyes, the pain beneath her quiet smile, and the scars that told a story no civilian could ever understand. But one man, one veteran, he saw everything in an instant. And it changed everything. Her name was Lena. She worked at the corner cafe, pouring coffee into chipped mugs and wiping down tables while customers barely noticed her. She was quiet, unassuming, never raised her voice, never bragged, never asked for attention. But she had a way of looking at people, straight into their soul, like she could read the weight they carried. Still, most days, people barely gave. Her second glance. Lena had burned scars down her right arm deep, twisted marks that crawled from her wrist to her shoulder, the kind of scars that made strangers stare, then look away. She always wore long sleeves, even in 90-degree heat. But every now and then, when the sweat soaked through her cotton shirt and she rolled up her sleeves just a bit, people would whisper, "She must have been in a fire. Poor thing, what a shame. She should cover that up." And Lena? She just kept wiping tables, smiling politely, going about her day like their words didn't chip away at her dignity. But inside, it stung. Every time. One Tuesday morning, the regular crowd was in full swing, mothers with kids, businessmen on laptops, and a group of well-dressed women who met every week for brunch. Lena knew them all by name, had memorized their orders, even though not one of them had ever asked her a question about herself. "More lemon water, Sarah?" she said softly. Sarah glanced up, gave a tight smile. "Sure, and maybe try not to spill it this time, hun." The other women giggled. Lena's smile didn't falter. She turned away, hiding the flush in her cheeks. That's when the door opened, and the bell chimed. A man walked in, tall, in his late 50s, shoulders broad but stiff. His eyes scanned the room like he was checking for exits. He had that look about him, the kind only someone who's seen war carries. He took a seat at the bar, eyes still roving. Lena walked over, grabbing a menu. "Coffee?" she asked. He looked up and froze, his eyes locked on her forearm. Her sleeve had slipped up just a bit. Just enough. There, hidden in the swirl of burned scars, was a tattoo, faded, ink buried under. Tissue, but still visible. Unit 189, 3rd Battalion, for those who didn't return. His face paled. His eyes filled with something raw, reverence, recognition, pain. "You were 189? he asked hoarsely. Lena blinked, startled. "Yes." He stood, slowly, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "I was 186, Afghanistan, Kunar Province." Her breath caught. She hadn't heard those words in a long time, and not in that voice. A soldier's voice. "I'm Tom," he said, offering a hand. She shook it, firm grip, steady eyes. "Lena." The cafe went quiet. Not completely silent, but the energy shifted. The brunch lady stopped mid-sip. Sarah's mouth hung open. Tom sat back down. Lena poured his coffee with hands that trembled just slightly. And as she placed the cup down, he touched her wrist, not the scars, the ink. "You were with Sergeant Morales?" 1,000 memories crashed down like a wave. The screaming, the sand, the fire. Morales yelling for them to move, even as the RPG hit the side of their transport. Lena nodded. "She saved us," Tom whispered. "I heard she didn't make it." "She didn't," Lena replied quietly. "But she got us all out first." The cafe felt like a different planet now. Number 1 laughed. No one whispered. For the next 20 minutes, Lena and Tom talked like old friends who had just been reunited after years of silence. War does that to people, binds them tighter than blood. Tom asked questions no one else had ever cared to ask. About her deployment, her injuries, the months in recovery, the silence after discharge, the nights waking up screaming, and Lena, she answered. For the first time in years, she opened up. Across the room, Sarah and her friends stared. One of them whispered, "She was a soldier?" Another replied, "That tattoo, I've seen one like it. It's a memorial unit." By the time Tom stood to leave, the room felt heavier. Like everyone had seen something sacred they didn't deserve to witness. Tom looked Lena in the eyes and said, "You're not just brave. You're a damn hero." He reached into his wallet, pulled out a crumpled patch unit 186, and handed it to her. "Keep it," he said. "For morals." Lena's hand closed around the patch. Her eyes welled with tears. As Tom left, Sarah stood. She walked over, slowly, awkwardly. I didn't know," she said. Lena gave her the faintest smile. "Most people don't. I'm sorry for being rude." Lena didn't say anything for a moment. Then she replied, "It's okay. You couldn't have known. But maybe next time, don't assume." Sarah nodded. Quietly, she returned to her table. And Lena? She went back to wiping tables. But now something had changed, not just in the cafe, in her, because for the first time in years, someone had seen her. Really. Seen her, not the scars. Not the quiet girl with long sleeves, but the warrior beneath. And that changed everything. After that morning, things weren't the same. Not for Lena. For the people who used to laugh behind her back. And certainly not for the town that thought it already knew everyone's story. Word spread fast. The brunch ladies whispered. The local newspaper editor came into the cafe for a casual coffee and left with a napkin covered in notes. Customers who had never looked her in the eye started holding the door open for her, calling her ma'am and offering gentle smiles like they were trying to make up for lost time. But Lena? She didn't change her routine. She still showed up every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, tied her apron around her waist, and brewed the first pot of coffee with steady hands. She still wore long sleeves. She still smiled softly. She still listened. More than she spoke, except now, when people looked at her, they saw something else. Respect. Still, respect doesn't erase memories, doesn't soothe the ache that lingers under scar tissue. And for Lena, those memories came flooding back more vividly than ever since Tom walked into her life. It was a few days later when Tom returned. This time, he brought someone with him. Younger man, maybe in his late 20s. Tall, lanky, with a military cut and eyes full of something broken. Tom gestured toward Lena. "This is her," he said softly. The young man looked like he was holding back tears. Lena tilted her head. "Have we met?" He shook his head. "No, but my sister. She served with you. Sergeant Danielle Ruiz." The name hit Lena like a bullet to the chest. Danielle. Firecracker Donnie. Short. Fierce, always cracking jokes in the worst situations. "She didn't make it," the man whispered. "But she wrote about you. Saw you drag her out after the blast. She said if she didn't make it home, I should find you. Say thank you." Lena froze. The air left her lungs. "I didn't save her," she whispered. "I tried. She was all ready. She knew," the man interrupted. "She knew she wasn't gonna make it. But she wrote that you stayed, that you didn't leave her alone." Lena's hands trembled as she gripped the counter. "She wasn't alone," Lena said finally. "Not for a second." The cafe was silent. Again, the man reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. This was in her journal. "She wrote it for you." Lena took the letter with shaking hands and stepped away. To the back room. She read it. Every word. And for the first time in years, she cried like a soldier, not broken, but deeply human. Later that day, she did something she hadn't done in years. She Wore short sleeves, let the scars show, not out of defiance, but out of honor. They weren't marks of shame, they were proof that she had survived, that others had lived because she stayed behind, that she had earned every line etched into her flesh. And when she walked back out into the cafe, heads turned not in disgust, not in pity, but in awe. One of the brunch ladies, not Sarah this time, but another Evelyn, stood and approached her. "I lost my nephew over there," she said quietly. "We never got to say goodbye. I never got to ask anyone what it was like." Lena nodded. "It's hard to explain, but I can try." They sat for nearly an hour, talking, sharing. The woman cried. Lena listened. And for once, someone truly understood. By the end of the week, veterans started coming in just to meet her. Some brought old patches, some brought photos, some just sat in silence, sipping coffee beside her like they'd known her all their lives. And the cafe? It changed. The walls, once filled with bland corporate art, now displayed medals, patches, letters, and framed pictures of local heroes, including a new photo of Lena, in uniform, standing beside her unit with a proud grin before it all went wrong. Tom had donated it. The owner of the cafe, a gruff old man who never said much, pulled Lena aside one evening. "I'm renaming the place," he said. "Lena's." She blinked. "You can't do that." "I can, and I will. You brought something here we didn't know we were missing." She didn't argue, didn't fight it. Just whispered, "Thank you," and went back to cleaning the counter. One morning, as the sun broke through the windows and lit up the newly renamed Lena's Cafe, a young teenage girl walked in, shy, awkward, long sleeves like Lena's. She hesitated near the door. Lena spotted her, walked over gently. "First time here?" The girl nodded. Then, in a whisper, said, "I saw your story online. People posted about you. I have scars too, not from war, just life." Lena nodded slowly. "Scars are scars, sweetheart. You survived. That's what matters." The girl's eyes filled with tears. Lena walked her to a seat, poured her a hot cocoa, sat down across from her. And for the next 20 minutes, she did what she had always done best. Listened. Because Lena knew something the world often forgot. Not all heroes wear medals. Some wear aprons. Carry trays, speak softly. And walk among us unnoticed, until the moment comes when their truth cannot stay hidden. And in that moment, everything changes. Because when a simple woman reveals the warrior beneath, when the world finally sees her, not for her scars, but for her story, it reminds us all that courage doesn't shout. Sometimes it just serves coffee. With grace and a steady hand.